On this edition of the Poke Report, we have everything OSU, including the Pokes and the NCAA tournament, big-time results from the wrestling team in St. Louis, baseball and softball seasons heating up, and stick around for Preston and I's favorite moments from OSU sports this year.
All that and much more on the Poke Report. Hey everybody, welcome to the Poke Report. I'm Preston Moore.
And I'm Barry Craddock. Thank you for joining us. Let's waste no time and get right into the first segment. It would be a disservice to not start with the basketball teams out competing for a national title. Unfortunately, the men's team, their bid at a national title ended this past Sunday when they lost to the Oregon State Beavers in the second round. Oklahoma State went into the tournament as a 4 seed and riding momentum after going to the finals of the Big 12 tournament. The Cowboys went down by as much as 18 in the first half and were able to bring the game back to as close as 2 points, but in the end, the Pokes didn't have enough to overcome the 12th-seeded Beavers.
Yeah, Barry. The Cowboys nonetheless have had an awesome season. Behind freshman Cade Cunningham, the Pokes had their best record in the regular season since 2012. Joseph Fazio breaks down the Cowboys' regular season run and showcases one of the Pokes' most improved assets.
For a team that was picked to finish 7th in the conference, the Oklahoma State men's basketball team made a big splash this season. The Cowboys finished with an 18-7 record in the regular season and garnered a 4 seed in the Big Dance. But if you ask head coach Mike Boynton, he believes the Cowboys' success should have garnered at least a 3 seed.
I was surprised a little bit, considering not just the number, but the way we had played, I thought we got a little bit of I don't know. I'm not going to gripe, right? You got to beat good teams if you're going to play in this tournament.
Much of the Cowboys' success this season can be attributed to their star point guard, Cade Cunningham. The true freshman was recently named to the AP All-American First Team, a first for Cowboy basketball. Cunningham led the Big 12 with 20.2 points per game and finished in the top 10 for rebounds, assists, and steals. While Cunningham was undoubtedly the best player on the Cowboys, the role of most important player has to go to their big man, Caleb Boone.
Caleb Boone's role with the Cowboys skyrocketed after Yorane announced his transfer from the team last season. Now, Boone was the Cowboys' main rim protector and post player. So what did he do? He accepted the challenge and proved his worth. This season, Boone dominated in the post against all opposition. As you can see, his strength matched with his elusiveness and post moves was too much for the Sooners. What a transition for Boone, who came into Stillwater weighing only 170 pounds soaking wet.
Boone's ability to play on both sides of the ball was a catalyst for the Cowboys' success. Sure, Cunningham led the team in points, but without an imposing big man like Boone, the team would have struggled. So we have best player and most important player, but who garners the award of most improved player? Well, a few weeks ago, Boynton said Avery Anderson was the most improved player in the country.
He's been playing well now. I mean, he's having a really good year. But I thought today, knowing what the moment required, that he stepped up to the challenge and certainly met it.
This season, 10 of the Cowboys' 18 wins were against Quadrant 1 opponents, the second most in the country, only behind Illinois. And 9 of those wins came against AP top 25 teams. It's very rare where a team has that many wins against top 25 teams, but it goes to show how stacked the Big 12 was this season. For the Poke Report, I'm Joseph Fazio.
Thanks, Joseph. Caleb Boone has been a welcome surprise this year, but some would say the improved play of the Cowboys this season has been on the back of star point guard Cade Cunningham. Reporter Grant Ramirez will take a deep dive into the type of player Cunningham is and why he was so successful for the Cowboys this season.
Cade Cunningham walked onto Oklahoma State's campus with a lot of hype. The #1 recruit in the country, potential top pick in next year's NBA draft, and budding superstar. Almost impossibly, he's met all those expectations. Cunningham has been everything the Cowboys could have hoped for and more. Let's take a look at what makes Cade Cunningham so special and the impact he has had on OSU. The first thing that stands out about Cunningham is his fluidity and versatility at his size. Standing at 6'8" and listed at 220 pounds, there isn't much he can't do on a basketball court. OSU coach Mike Boynton moves him all around on both offense and defense, and Cunningham has played every position at some point or another this season. His size has been critical to a relatively small Cowboys team. As for his skill set, Cunningham's height and vision allows him to make passes not everyone can make. And because he draws so much defensive attention, it leaves teammates more space to maneuver and creates advantages for his team. A player of Cunningham's caliber could have come to OSU, hijacked the offense, and run a one-man show. But that's not who he is. His initial priority is to get his teammates involved, instilling confidence in them from the tip.
I think Cade Cunningham gets an assist as well, because Cade's ability on the court through Coach Boynton empowered his teammates to be better than they should have been for their experience.
He only averages 3.6 assists per game, but he would average a lot more on a team with more accurate shooters like they'll be surrounded with at the next level. Conversely, Cunningham leads the Big 12 in scoring at 20.2 points per game and is more than capable of creating his own shot. He can take advantage of smaller defenders on the inside, get to his spots for mid-range jumpers, or spot up from distance, which he does at a 41% clip. And when it gets down to crunch time, Cunningham knows he's the best player on the court. He hits another gear when it matters most and wants the ball in his hands for the big shots. And while he has made a couple of late game gaffes, for the most part, he's delivered.
I kind of gravitate towards the ball, especially in big moments. I kind of, want to assert myself more. And my team, they do a really good job of finding me and making sure I'm in the right spots.
With how special he is offensively, some of Cunningham's defensive contributions go under the radar. He's an extremely smart defender and makes great rotations for a freshman. In addition, his length and IQ allows him to block the occasional shot, which he has done a few times at key moments throughout the season. Currently, Cunningham's biggest weakness is his turnover proficiency. With the ball in his hands as much as it is, he's bound to make some mistakes, but some of the turnovers are completely careless passes that he shouldn't even think about making. When Cunningham committed to OSU, virtually no one thought he would make as big of an impact on the program as he has. This year's Cowboys team was really good, earning a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. While the team is far from just Cunningham, he's clearly on another level from the competition, and now on his way to the NBA.
Thank you, Grant. Now that his college career is over, all eyes will be on Cunningham and the upcoming NBA draft to see where the beloved Stillwater Star will be calling home in his professional career. While that may be an uncertainty at the moment, one thing is guaranteed. He will be a hot commodity come draft night, 18th.
I'd have to agree with that, Preston. And by the way, fans of OSU basketball don't need to be sad just yet, as the Pokes will still be suiting up tonight in San Antonio. Cowgirl basketball is set to take on the number 1 seeded Stanford Cardinals in the round of 32 starting at 8 p.m. Central. They will have a tough matchup against one of the best teams in the nation this season, but led by Defensive Player of the Year candidate Natasha Mack, an upset may be in store to reach the Sweet 16.
I couldn't agree more, Barry.
Yeah, unlucky for Fix, but in his teammate AJ Ferrari had himself a night. He was matched up against number 6 ranked Nino Bonacorsi from Pittsburgh. Ferrari wasted no time in the match, securing a takedown in the opening minute. He showcased great technical defense and held off his opponent to win the 143rd individual national title in program history. He is just the 3rd Cowboy in history to win the national title as a true freshman, and the 1st Cowboy to win since 2017.
The biggest difference between the beginning of the year and the end of the year is right here, man. Just dialing in, focus on little details. Tell my brothers this, tell my teammates this. It's the little things that make the biggest difference. And before the match, tell my teammates, man, we only get to live once, man. Have fun out there. I don't know if you guys see me. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting it.
As for the team as a whole, the Pokes took home 3rd place overall with 99.5 points, with Iowa claiming the top prize with 129. We still have a great show for you in store, as we'll get you caught up quickly with many of the sports taking place right now for OSU. Our own Cameron Bloom will be live with us from Neil Patterson Stadium, and later we'll show some of our favorite moments of the season, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Poke Report. I'm Barry Craddock, this is Preston Moore, and we're glad to have you with us again. Since we last aired, there have been some major developments in the athletics department, with athletic director of over 16 years, Mike Holder, announcing he will be stepping down following this athletic season. It comes after the news announced later last year that President Burns Hargis will also be leaving Oklahoma State. Reporter Joel Divick has more on the impact this will have on the future of OSU.
For more than 13 years, Burns Hargis and Mike Holder have guided Oklahoma State University as a duo of president and athletic director. To those that have covered Cowboys athletics, they have done it with poise and a clear vision that has brought OSU into the present and beyond.
I think one of the things about Hargis and Holder going out together is the longevity that they've had, particularly with Mike Gunn. You know, the three of them together, what I call a college football trinity, president, athletic director, head coach, they've been together now going on 13 years. And that's the longest intact trio in college football. So that kind of stability is very rare. It's rare for one of the three to stay in the job that long. It's three volatile jobs, but for all three jobs to be held for that long is a great thing for a school, because it does project cohesive direction as well as great stability.
This summer, Hargis and Holder will step down from their posts. During their tenure, the Cowboys have seen many facilities improvements and sustained success in the athletics program and across the university.
The first thing you have to talk about is the fundraising and the transformation of OSU's facilities, the athletic village, the revamped stadium, which is really a new stadium, which was a pipe dream. But now, Boone Pickens Stadium is a coliseum that's as renowned. It's as nice as anybody's got, and all the facilities there on the west end, are state of the art. So Holder's fundraising ability and his dream of OSU athletics came to fruition, and that'll be a generational legacy. That'll be 40, 60, 80 years from now, people will still be talking about that.
Oklahoma State will go through a season of getting its footing under new leadership, and though they are leaving their administrative roles at OSU, both will certainly be fallbacks for the new leaders as resources. Holder will remain as a special advisor to the program, and likely will be the athletic director emeritus, as was recommended to the OSU Board of Regents by Hargis. Although the sun is setting on the Holder and Hargis regime here at OSU, the legacy and impact that these two will leave behind will be hard to ignore. The foundation and culture that has been built by these two for OSU athletics will live on well into the future. For the Poke Report, I'm Joel Divick.
Thanks, Joel. Those men have done a great deal for the university and athletics program. I'll be sad to see them go, but I'm excited to see where the future takes us here at OSU. Without further ado, the moment you've all been waiting for, we're going to take you right into a little segment we'd like to call the OSU Rundown. Let's get it going.
OSU men's and women's golf both competed over the weekend and emerged victorious in their respective tournaments. The men competed in the NIT in Tucson, Arizona, and came out on top for the second time this season after shooting an 18 under in the final round. They finished the tournament with a combined score of 47 under, 4 strokes ahead of the second place Sooners. The Cowboys will compete in the Haskins Award Invitational April 3rd in Georgia. The Cowgirls also impressed, taking home the individual and team titles, with Maya Stark shooting an 11 under par for the tournament to bring home her second victory of the season. The team tied the school record for second lowest 54-hole score after shooting an 844. They will be back in action at the Bruzzy in Argyle, Texas, March 28th.
Women's tennis faced off against Texas and Baylor this past weekend on Friday and Sunday, respectively. They opened Big 12 play with a tough loss against the number 2 Longhorns and a 6-1 defeat before traveling to Waco, falling by the same margin to the Bears, 6-1. They will have their first home Big 12 game this Friday against Texas Tech. Cowboy tennis also had a rough weekend, falling to Ole Miss by a score of 4-3 on Sunday at the Greenwood Tennis Center. They fell to 6-5 on the season and will look to improve when this Thursday they take on their in-state rival Golden Hurricane in Tulsa.
After they closed out their regular season with an 11-8 victory over Baylor last week, OSU Equestrian was named a 1 seed in the upcoming Big 12 tournament. After only one loss the entire season, the Cowgirls finished as the number 3 ranked team in the nation. The Big 12 championships will be held at the Willis Family Equestrian Center in Waco, Texas, from March 26th through the 27th. OSU is gunning for their 7th conference championship.
Men's and women's cross country competed in the TCU Invitational for their second outdoor event of the season, and it was the Cowgirls who stole the show. Sprinters Aaliyah Birmingham and Christina Olsen finished first place in 2 separate events for the Cowgirls after setting personal bests. Birmingham won the 200-meter dash with a time of 23.85 seconds, and Olsen went home with first in the 400-meter after posting a time of 53.93. OSU track and field will be seen next, competing March 25th through the 27th at the Clyde Littlefield, Texas replays.
The Oklahoma State women's soccer team has been faring well as of late. The Cowgirls were matched up against UTEP. Our own Cameron Bloom joins us live at Neil Patterson Stadium to break down the action. How you doing out there, Cameron?
Thanks, Preston. I'm doing great today. I'm here at Neil Patterson Stadium where the Oklahoma State Cowgirls have been tearing it up with a 6-1 record at home. They're currently in 3rd place in the Big 12 with only 3 games left on their season. But before they finish off their season and look to the postseason, we have a little bit of time to celebrate all the hard work these women have put in to get to this point right here. For the 3rd week in a row, the Cowgirls have brought in multiple weekly awards from the Big 12. Grace Yoakum was named Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week, and Charmaine Morgan was named Defensive Player of the Week for Week 12. The Cowgirls hosted UTEP on Saturday, and it was a scoring frenzy for the OSU Cowgirls. 5 total goals for the Cowgirls. The first one comes from Grace Yoakum on this beautiful header to slip it right past the goalie. Next up is All-American Kim Rodriguez with some fancy footwork to put the Cowgirls up 2-0. Sophomore from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Megan Haynes got in on the action and scored the first goal of her career. With the Cowgirls already up 3-0, everyone wanted to get in on the scoring. Only 4 minutes left in the game, Gabriella Coleman and Olivia Dowell wanted to add to their career stats and scored 1 goal each. Goalkeeper for the Cowgirls, Amber Lockwood, recorded a shutout in her first career start for the team. The Cowgirls kept the pressure on UTEP the entire game. OSU finished the game with 18 shots on goal compared to UTEP's 3. Cowgirls defeat UTEP in a dominating 5-0 performance. With only 3 games left in the regular season, the Cowgirls will be back here in Stillwater hosting the Oklahoma Sooners for the Bedlam soccer matchup this Saturday at 1 p.m. I hope you guys can make it out here because it's going to be a fun one. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Cameron. I'll definitely be looking forward to see how the Cowgirls do the rest of the way.
We have to take one more break, but when we come back, we have much more, including our top 10 moments of the year so far. Stick around.
Rising from the plains of Oklahoma is a destination for scholars and thinkers, dreamers and doers. This is where hope, hard work, and integrity create tomorrow's catalysts for change. And excellence is the standard demanded not only of your head, but your heart. This is Oklahoma State University, America's brightest orange.
They say you can't choose your family. But when you choose Oklahoma State, you join the Cowboy family. A family that's loyal and true no matter what. Whether you're from 1,000 miles away or right down the road, if the Cowboys are your family, Stillwater becomes your home. A home where everything you need is a quick walk away. Whether it's time for practice or time for class, nothing is ever too far. Stillwater is a place to connect with your teammates, with the community, and with the world. Everywhere you go, you'll see someone you know, and they'll probably be wearing orange. Here we schedule our lives around Saturday. Friendships, birthdays, even weddings are celebrated in the light of Boone Pickens Stadium. This is a true sports town, we play high-octane football with hard-hitting defense and the most electric offense in the country. Stillwater rides for the Cowboys no matter what time of year. But the people here are more than just your fans. They're your family. And they'll welcome you in like you've lived here your whole life. In 4 short years, a place you've never been will become a town you'll always call home. And even when you leave, you'll be counting down the days until you come back. There's nothing like this family, this home, and this team. It's Stillwater, America's greatest college town.
Welcome back to the Poke Report. It's almost time to end our show today, but we won't be leaving before we give you everything you need to know about Cowboy sports. As the flowers start to bloom around campus with the first day of spring this last weekend, it marks the beginning of baseball and softball Big 12 play for our Cowboys and Cowgirls. But before the OSU softball team could kick things off for the Big 12 play this Friday, they competed in the Mizuno Classic, playing in 5 games over the course of 3 days. They started off the tournament Thursday with a 9-2 loss against Wichita State before rebounding and picking up an 11-2 win against UTSA. They would go on to win 2 out of their last 3 games in the series, defeating Wichita State 5-2 early Saturday and finishing strong with a 13-0 shutout victory over Kansas City later that day. The Cowgirls will play North Texas for 1 game on Wednesday in Stillwater, before beginning a Big 12 play with a 3-game series against Kansas in Lawrence.
Speaking of the Big 12, the Cowboy baseball team began conference play this past weekend in a 3-game series against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. The Red Raiders came into the series as the number 4 team in the nation with a 14-game winning streak, but it was snapped by the Cowboys after a 2-0 shutout in the first game of the series. The win was also snapped a 23 home game winning streak by the Red Raiders dating back to last season. However, the Cowboys would go on to lose the series after dropping the next 2 games 4-2 and 6-5. OSU has a quick non-conference matchup against Missouri State on Tuesday before continuing Big 12 play this weekend against Kansas State in beautiful O'Brate Stadium. While history is beginning to be made at the new stadium starting this season, former baseball players who have made their mark at the older Allie P. Reynolds Stadium for OSU are still providing MLB teams with their valuable skills in the pros. We have a special treat for everyone right now as Gabby Sprang joins us in the studio for her Cowboy Baseball Roundup. Gabby, take it away.
Hello, Cowboy fans, and welcome to Cowboy Baseball Roundup. I'm Gabby Sprang, and the Major League Baseball is just a month away, so let's take a look at the former Cowboys who made it to the big league. Dating back to the 1900s, the Cowboys have had 62 players that have played in the MLB, with greats like Robin Ventura and Matt Holliday, who was drafted out of Stillwater High School. Currently, there are just 4 players that call Oklahoma State their alma mater in the major leagues. Starting with the former Cowboy who had his debut in 2020. Thomas Hatch is a Tulsa native that got drafted by the Chicago Cubs in 2016 in the 3rd round. Prior to being drafted, Hatch was named the Big 12 Pitcher of the Year in 2016 with a 9-3 record and a 2.14 ERA, leading the Pokes to the College World Series. Hatch was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays and made his MLB debut in July of 2020 when he posted a 3.38 ERA in 5.1 innings of work. Now for a Cowboy that is known all around Stillwater, and not just because of his great bat. Donnie Walton is son of the pitching coach at Oklahoma State, Rob Walton. Walton was drafted in 2016 in the 5th round by the Seattle Mariners. He now finds himself as an active player with the Mariners. His debut came in 2019. Since then, he has hit .302 in 43 at-bats. Another former Cowboy that has over 70 innings pitched in the big leagues is Andrew Heaney, a left-handed pitcher from Oklahoma City. While at OSU, Heaney was named the Big 12 Pitcher of the Year and a first-team All-American in 2012 after leading the NCAA with 140 strikeouts in 118 innings pitched. Heaney was then drafted in the 1st round by the Miami Marlins, but since 2012, he has played 6 seasons with the Los Angeles Angels, since making his debut in 2014. While he might be great on the field, he also has a big heart off the field. Heaney and wife Jordan make mission trips to Honduras during the offseason, and he is the Angels ambassador for the Home Plate Project, a league-wide project that supports child hunger prevention and battle food insecurity. To round up the former Oklahoma State Cowboys in the major leagues comes Tyler Lyons, a left-handed pitcher from Lubbock, Texas. He played all 4 years at Oklahoma State and posted a 22-14 record in 65 games. Lyons was drafted in 2010 after his senior campaign with the Pokes in the 9th round. 3 years later, he made his MLB debut and since has posted a 6.44 ERA in 65 innings pitched. Since then, Lyons is currently a free agent from the New York Yankees, but was invited to the 60-man roster for spring training. That is the Cowboy Baseball Major League Roundup, and I'm Gabby Sprang, and we'll see you next time. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Gabby. It's always great to have you in the studio. On over to the gridiron, football fans should be excited to know that the Cowboys had their first practice of the season this past weekend.
That's right, Barry. The Cowboys are already kicking things off for the upcoming football season. Head coach Mike Gundy spoke to the media for the game and expressed his excitement to get things up and running in Boone Pickens Stadium soon.
I had a really good practice today. A lot of sense of urgency, I should say. Excited about the players being out there, excited about the future in Oklahoma State football. So it's a good time of the year for us. Gives us a chance to do what we like to do more than anything, which is coach football and spend a lot of time with the players.
The Cowboys will play a spring game at Boone Pickens Stadium on April 24th before opening up the season in Stillwater September 4th against Missouri State. One of the anchors of the defense this past season for the Cowboys was senior Eamon Ogbogbemiga. He led the Pokes defense with 76 tackles and added 2.5 sacks to his stat sheet as well. With his career complete at OSU, he has begun preparations for the 2021 NFL Draft. Reporter Adam Martin caught up with Ogbogbemiga to talk about his OSU career and his future.
From a young age, Eamon Ogbogbemiga wanted to play in the NFL, but he knew it would be tough coming from Canada.
It's probably been my dream for, over 10 years. I remember being a kid growing up. Every Saturday I wake up and watch, college football. Sundays when I got back from church, I watch NFL. And growing up, I always wanted to be in that position. It's not a common opportunity that I'm presented with. So, once I had it in front of me, I had to capitalize. So it's been a long journey. I'm just thankful to be on that.
As he makes his transition from college football to professional, Ogbogbemiga said the thing he will miss most is the college locker room.
The locker room is irreplaceable. You can't find it anywhere else. You can't find that in any job, any environment. I always cherish the people that I met, the relationships that I built, because those are lifelong relationships, and that's something that you can't replicate anywhere else. So.
Not only was Ogbogbemiga a 2-time All-Big 12 selection, but he was also voted as a team captain his junior and senior year. Ogbogbemiga said his greatest strengths are his football IQ on the field and his leadership off the field.
On the field is kind of my intellect and my cognitive awareness on the field. I put a lot of time into knowing what I got to do and knowing what everyone else has to do on the field so that we could be successful as a unit. That's something that I take a lot of pride in. And off the field, I feel like I can bring a locker room together. I always like to bring out the best in everybody. I always am one to call out people for their talents, and even though they might not notice it, they might not be getting the treatment that they want, I just try to motivate them to keep working and to keep grinding because you never know when your opportunities will come.
Projected as a late-round pick, Ogbogbemiga will try to be the first Oklahoma State linebacker taken in the draft since 1995. Even if he is not drafted, he will still have a great shot at getting a free agency because of his production while at Oklahoma State. For the Poke Report, I'm Adam Martin.
Thank you, Adam. It's great to see former OSU players looking to take the next step and go on to big things in their professional careers.
Well, we're almost finished with our show today, but before we leave, we wanted to leave everyone with some of our favorite moments and top plays of OSU sports so far this year.
That's all we have for you on this edition of the Poke Report. I hope you've had as good a time as we have bringing you all the things OSU athletics. For Barry and I, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.